All right, here we are, Impact and Influence Radio, right here on Opera, and today's broadcast is brought to you by Blinds of Sacramento, Sacramento's complete solution window covering experts. Give them a call, 916-790-8689, or blindsofsacramento.com. Now today, we've got a lovely lady in here, Jamie Perez. You've probably seen her on television once or twice or 50 times. We're going to be learning a little bit about that, but she owns Beyond Words Productions. I got that right?
Yes.
All right, perfect. And without further ado, how you doing, my dear?
I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Super cool, right?
Yes.
Super cool. So I think let's really dig deep. Who are you? Who is Jamie Perez?
So I am a videographer and the owner of Beyond Words Productions, and I do heartfelt and emotional storytelling for businesses and nonprofits so that they are magnetic and unforgettable.
Now, did you go to school for this?
I went to school for broadcast journalism.
That's
so
right.
In an indirect way, yes.
Yes. So when I got into radio, I remember I was about 31-ish, 32-ish. And I remember, the producer, Steve Gasser, he's an old fellow from the Vietnam era radio. He goes, "All right, Quinn, today I'm going to teach you how to talk." And I'm like, "What? What does that mean?" He goes, "We got to learn how to enunciate." And so after you've been doing it long enough, it just becomes part of your lingo, your language. Did you have the same training when you got into broadcasting? They sit you aside one day and they're like, "You got to learn how to not to run your words."
Well, I actually learned that in college because we would have to create reporter packages or stories, basically. And so when I saw myself talking on camera, it sounded so different to me in my head out live in the real world versus recorded on camera. And I'm like, wow, you really cannot understand what I'm saying. Yeah. And like it translates so differently on camera. So my teacher actually pointed it out to me too. He's like, "Stop slurring your words." And I'm like, I don't feel like I am.
You've got to enunciate.
But then when I watched, I was like, okay, yeah, like you really can't understand what I'm saying.
What was funny is he says, just make your mouth do the words. And then all of a sudden, so it was almost like there was this moment early in my radio where I just did the whole Anchorman thing, the ow now brown cow, ow now brown cow, wow, 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 wow. I just would do that. And then it's almost like when you're getting your hands ready to play music or whatever, you have to get the muscles in your face and, almost contortion your face in order to talk. Yeah. It's
you have to almost like feel every word you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the tonality. Do you find your tonality changes? My wife says that I talk different. I sound like I'm broadcasting when I order a pizza. "Hi, how you doing today? Today I'd like to order a." Do you find yourself doing that?
I think so. I think that there's a certain level of performance when you're talking into a mic or you're talking on camera. But I have heard that now, like sometimes I just sound like that because I was doing it every day for so long that now it's just part of my voice. But I can like step away from it and become a little softer.
Give me a cool news broadcasty something. Give me something.
My news anchor voice?
Yeah, do it.
Thank you so much for tuning in tonight at 6. We have breaking news right now. We're going live to the field.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Because I have almost that they call it the transatlantic accent, which is the radio voice. All right, so today we're going to be talking about. It's a different dynamic, but that is so cool. That's so cool. I love it. All right, so what are you doing today? You're shooting stories for people. I saw you did some stuff with the Kings. You did a couple of things with a couple of other notables.
Yeah, so that's kind of more recently that I'm starting to get into like more larger brands and corporate, but I'm still very much driven by small to medium-sized businesses and nonprofits. So anything that has to do with storytelling, telling a story, not necessarily promo videos, although the one that you saw for the Kings was more promotional. But I'm really, really very passionate about telling people's stories and getting to the why, because those are the things that people hold on to. Those are the things that people remember, and I want people to watch my stuff. So,
when you're doing the storytelling piece of it, are you doing it for you? Or are you doing it for them? Is it something that you used to read a lot of books when you were a kid and you just love stories? Like, what is it for you that you do this? Because, when I do my mafia movies, it's really cool. But I think for me, it was every time I would watch a movie, like I can, as far as I can go back, I'd always say I would have done that differently. I would have done that differently. If I were to do a movie, I would make sure that I did this way and did it this way. And so I was always critiquing films. So then when I started making films, I just made sure that I didn't make any of the mistakes that I saw. The continuity mistakes, I think, are the toughest for me. It's like, dude, he's literally has a green handkerchief. Why is it red in the next scene? That makes no sense, you know.
To answer your question, I do it for both. Like my why obviously starts with me. I think this work is very healing for me. I grew up in an abusive household, and so as a kid, there it is.
There it is.
The why. It's always creatives always have
We're
some
all
sort
tattooed, and
trauma.
we all have this darkness about us.
Yeah.
I see it in the eyes. I knew it the moment I met you.
You can see it in people's eyes for sure. So there was this level of, or I guess, a lack of emotional connection that I had as a kid, and I desperately craved that, and I carried that into my adulthood. So I think now doing this,
we carry it with everything that we do. It's almost like, you know, they say that we've got our heart on our sleeve in a sense, and so myself, I give so much of myself, but then I find myself so disappointed because I don't get it back. You know what I'm saying? But I give like 150% to every single person, and then when they're like, I can't want it more than you have to want it too, you know.
I think I knew that I liked this when I was working in news, and it wasn't the days that I was covering crime and politics. That's just part of the job, and that's not the days that I enjoyed. I mean, the days that I really enjoyed were where I got to tell compassionate, impactful community stories that mattered and centered human beings at the core. And so that's where I was like, there is something here that makes me feel fulfilled inside, and it's definitely filling a gap that I have in my heart. And so when I started doing my business, I was like, that is what I want to do 100% of the time.
That's where the passion comes in, right there.
Yep. And then so I in a way, I'm getting the love back. So I'm pouring in to my clients and their stories, but I'm also getting it back when I see the results of what these videos are doing for them.
And it's more than just seeing the product at the back end and you're like, man, we did a great video. You know what's funny is there's been some videos that I thought were just complete poo-poo that I did for people because they weren't perfect in my eyes. And 2 or 3 years later, I'll walk up to that person and I'm just almost like a tail between my legs. I'm like, oh man, here we go. And he'll go, or she'll go, man, that video was just so good what you did. And I'm like, you liked it? They're like, yes, we liked it. We hired you 5 more times. Like, oh, I thought it sucked. You know, it was like, you know, my passion was I wish I could have given them more. And then, you know, and I think that's what you're talking about here is just that you just what it does for them. It tells their story their way.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that because now there's some stories that I did like 2-3 weeks ago that I'll watch now that I'm like, I wish I did that differently. So like you know, you're looking at 5 years ago, but I'm like, man, even just 2 to 3 weeks ago, I'm like, oh, I wish I did that differently.
You know what was funny is I used to get called in to do photo and video work, and so I'm like, I'm an iPhone slinger, dude. I don't carry cameras. I don't do the cameras. And so people are like, literally, you do all this on an iPhone? I shoot my movies on an iPhone. Everything's done on an iPhone. And so, and people would go, yeah, but you don't get the depth and you don't, yeah, but I get the story. I get the shot. And when I'm doing photos with an iPhone, you know, you got to get that camera right. You got to get the camera right up on them. And it's almost invasive in the moment, right? And then I show them the pictures at the end and they're like, how in the world did you capture that? The only reason was because I wasn't way the heck back there. I was right up in your face in that moment, you know? And so, you know, there is a right way and a wrong way. You can't do that at weddings. That's why I don't do weddings. But like a chamber event or corporate event or something, yeah, you just take the camera, capture some moments and stuff. I don't do it anymore. I'll leave that to you. You handle that. The point, though, is those moments. And those moments are what you capture, and that's what people really appreciate, are the moments. History. You've got some pretty cool history. You were out in Wisconsin, I believe it was, and you were doing the news out there, and then kind of what happened? You're out here now.
So I was in Iowa first for 2 years working in news. and then I moved to a station in
Wasn't
Wisconsin.
the news lady from Iowa in what movie was that? Mr. Deeds, Winchestertown, Fieldville,
Yeah.
Iowa.
Yeah, middle of nowhere, fun. Yeah, so I had a whole stint in the Midwest. So I was 2 years in Iowa, and then I did 7 years in Wisconsin. But only 4 of those years I was working in news. The last 3, I was building and running my business. So, yeah, I built it out there. And, I
Are
mentioned...
you from out there or are you from out here?
I'm from Sacramento.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just moved away to do the news thing. It took me all over.
Got it.
I never planned on moving back, but I mentioned a little bit earlier, like the abusive house that I grew up in.
Yep.
So obviously that had a huge impact on how I was in relationships and the partners that I was choosing. So long story short, I was in an abusive relationship out there, and I knew I needed to leave, and so I did, and I moved back here.
I totally get it. You just you're finding love, and then we're bringing it down back to the storytelling. I grew up in a home very, very abusive. I have a lot of sex offenders in the family, and then I was abused, and then just seeing there was like no love. Like I've told the story a million times. I didn't know what family and love was until I met my wife's family. They're the only family I've ever had. It's the only family I currently have. And so for me, it was like all these years of dating and relationships and engagements. I'm always finding all of these partners that have all of these deep issues. And then you end up with like fire on fire, and then everything blows up. And so when I finally found a solid unit, then I realized what it's supposed to be like, and it changes everything. The dynamic is just incredible.
Yeah.
And finding somebody that actually understands compassion. And then the other side of it is mom. My wife's mom is like the most amazing mom on the planet, but she had a childhood very much like mine. So her and I, the joke is always that I'm the favorite child. Because we relate so well because she understands.
Well, it certainly added a lot of passion and fuel to me moving back and rebuilding here, because when you have that emotional fuel, like it just sets such a blaze inside of you to succeed, and just the creativity that comes from pain is palpable. I mean, I think it really helped me get back on my feet.
But you have a great support system here. I see you at the events. I mean, people freaking adore you, dude. They adore you. There's something that you bring to a room that a lot of people are missing. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the fact that you need to be in that space. I don't know what's going on upstairs. We don't know each other well enough. But, I see the warmth that you bring to the room, and the connection that you have with people. And I think that's just, it's what a lot of people are missing. And that's really the fire that's under your ass when you're building your business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you come back out here. How long have you been back out in California?
A year and a half.
Oh, so you're green pea back out here.
Yeah.
That's great. And so you're picking up jobs.
Yeah.
And you're going to the events, getting in front of people. You're doing exactly what you should be doing. You've got a great following online. Obviously, I had to do some research on you to figure out who the hell you are. and everything everything came up, everything populated. So, do you plan on doing anything with the news anymore, or is your heart in Beyond Words?
I think the news was fun for that chapter of my life, and it taught me everything that I needed to know to be able to do what I'm doing now. I have no interest in going back to news. I respect it. I can appreciate it, but I'm kind of close that door.
Now, where do you want to take your current company? I mean, it's so funny. You go to these networking events and everybody wants to be a billionaire. I mean, everyone does, right? They all want to become the next Bezos. But like realistically, where do you want to take your business?
I would love to have I still love the video production process of it. And that's, the meat and bones of how I started and what I do. But I know that I really love teaching people the value of storytelling and how to do what I've learned to do so well because of how impactful and transformative it is. So I think what I'm working on this year and for the future is getting on more stages to speak from stage and sell from stage and just teach people about it.
Have you met Portia Middleton yet?
I don't think so.
So she's one of our members. We got to get you into our system here and get you invited to these events. And we'll talk about that before you leave. But Portia Middleton is the mayor of Citrus Heights. She's with us. She's going to be on the cover of the magazine next month. And then Sherry Seagraves, who just came on board, she's going to be on the cover of, I think, October. And she works with TED Talk. And so she did not tell me that. I found that out yesterday on Google. And I need to give her a powwow because we need to be getting some of these people we're working with into that space. They are ready. Some of these people are ready. You would be ready.
I want to.
Yes.
So.
And so we need to, that's why we need to get you involved in this community, is because you could be an asset for us and we could absolutely be an asset for you. We could send you a ton of business because I don't do this stuff anymore. And Matt, as much as I love Matt, he's my best friend. Matt doesn't have that storytelling piece. Mm-hmm. He's got all the equipment. He has all the technical knowledge, but he doesn't have the storytelling piece.
And that's actually something that I have found here. People, as I've been rebuilding and moved back from Wisconsin, people ask me, like, do you find that there's more competition? And first of all, I'm like, I'm not in competition with anybody but myself.
Correct.
So that's like the mindset first and foremost. But also I respond and I say, I think there's more people here that have cameras, but I don't think that there's a lot of people here still that are doing what I'm doing with videos.
You're in a different space. It's kind of like me with the guitar playing, and it's so funny. It's like, I would never consider myself a musician. I'm not a musician. I can't read notes, but a guitarist all day long. You know, I'm a phenomenal guitar player. I did it professionally for 20 years. I've cut dozens of albums. I've worked with everybody. But I would never consider myself a musician because if you told me to play a key of G, I wouldn't know where to start. But you show me a key of G and I can show you everything and where it goes and the scales that go around it and how it all connects and all those things. And so I think that's kind of what we're dealing with here is that you've got the technical ability, but you're able to turn the camera into something beautiful where a lot of other people, no disrespect, there's a place for them, are taking the camera and setting it on a tripod and letting the camera do the work. Mm-hmm. And then the other side of it is it's all in the editing. The editing is, I'd say, probably like 90% of it. The camera's going to get a good shot, but what do you do with it? And so with like when I'm making my movies, we shoot on an iPhone. Good God, that's got to be horrendous. But when you watch it, you never know because it's all in the editing.
You know, the other piece to that is, I think, is the interview is also a really important part of it because I tell people, like, you can have amazing footage, B-roll, transitions, all these flashy edits,
Correct.
but if you have a bad interview and you're not getting good sound, no one's going to remember.
Well, here's the other thing is let's say you have a 40-minute interview, okay? You have a 40-minute interview and you break it up into 4 10-minute segments. And then you have just some sort of transition in the middle. No one's going to sit there and watch 40 minutes. Mm-hmm. But you could take the best 6 minutes and you can have 30 seconds and then some B-roll on top of that. And then the interview's still going and then some descriptive shots and then it comes back in and then maybe segments over here and then comes back and continues that story. And then what you end up with is maybe 22 minutes of the 40 minutes, but you've got a story that comes all around it. And you know, all those different connecting pieces. Mm-hmm. The other thing is you could have the 40-minute interview, but what if you got like 3 or 4 3-minute interviews from a different perspective from somebody else, mm-hmm. and then they're coming in and they're telling, essentially continuing the story of what that first person was saying, but the images, the shots changing, the voices changing, the dynamic, the energy, the cinematography, all the elements are changing, and then it just ends up with a better product because people aren't thinking like
mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. The editing is a super critical piece.
Yeah. Types of clients, what are you looking for? I know you said nonprofits, small business, small, medium-sized businesses, but what else?
Mission-based organizations and people that know their why. Because I say if you know your why, you know your way. And people who have something bigger than, or they want to portray themselves as something more than just, we are just a transactional company. Here are the products and services we provide, and that's as deep as they are willing to look inward about their business. Probably not my client.
We see a lot of that at networking events, and so you know our vetting process to get people onto the magazine is super detailed. You know, we go to the networking event, we invite them, then they have to respond to the text, then they have to schedule, then they have to show up, and then they have to record, and then they have to become a member, and then they have to show up to the events. By the time they showed up to our events, they've already jumped through 6 or 7 hoops. We've got the best of the best right here, and so those are the people that we really want to connect people with, and they have to want it. Storytelling. I know we touched on this, but start to wrap her up. The importance of storytelling. Why do you think storytelling is so important?
Stories are how we connect, and people don't remember facts. They don't remember stats. They don't remember what you do, but people will always remember a story about why you're doing it and who it's impacting. And stories are a way to make people care about what you do. I was talking to somebody about this the other day. I was showing like a construction story that I did, and most videos that you see with construction companies are like, here's our products and services. We do windows, doors, siding, blah, 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 blah. And so I told them, I was like, if I'm never going to be a homeowner, for example, that video just saying what you do, I don't care. But if you tell me the story, which is what I showed, I said, if you showed me something like this, that is, you're selling emotions to human beings. You're not selling windows, you're not selling doors or any of the other things that you think you're selling. You're selling emotion. And I said, if I saw that video, I don't have to be your client. I can be your advocate.
Yeah, we can recommend you to the right people, because we all know somebody that owns a house.
Yes. And so that's the importance of storytelling, is you're not selling what you do, because frankly, no one cares.
Oh, I love it. I tell every damn person that comes in here, nobody gives a crap what you do for a living. All they care about is who you are and what you can provide. And if you give yourself, if you just be genuine and authentic to people and you be good to people, they'll sell you every time. Nobody cares what you do. They'll sell you because of you. I say it's nobody gives a crap what kind of shoes you're wearing if you die. Meaning nobody cares how much money you have. The wrong people do. Sure, they're going to fight over all your crap. But when they put you in the box and put you in the ground, all they're going to remember is if you were a good person or a bad person. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And so that story, telling what this person is and who this person is. With the person that we had yesterday, it was very interesting. She was talking about how you've got to build your business into its own person, in a sense. Your business has its own personality, has its own quirks, has its own, and that's the story that you're telling inside your business is what's your business's personality.
I love that.
It's so interesting. I never thought of it that way, but it's so true. Yeah. It's so true. Okay, so Jamie Perez, Beyond Words Productions, beyondwordsproductions.com, 916-698-2931, 916-698-2931. Anything you want to add before we get out of here?
I would encourage people to explore the idea of storytelling no matter what industry you are in. I think that people who don't think they have stories to tell, I would challenge you to go and watch some of the stories that I've told for realtors, people in finance, construction, things that are seemingly non-emotive.
Yeah.
And watch the stories that come out of it. It's usually because people just aren't in the mindset of thinking about their why or creating videos that are rooted in the why.
Now, are we talking about video for like social media and so forth? Or are we talking about more stuff that's going to go on the website, YouTube, and those types of things? Are we talking about 30-second videos? Are we talking about longer, 3-minute to 20-minute videos? Or all of it?
All those videos are important to have a well-rounded content arsenal, yes. But for my business specifically focuses on long form, meaning 2 to 3 minutes. So that is, most people are using it for their websites. Nonprofits are using it to play at fundraisers to get more donations. People are using it as a QR code on their business card so that every time they hand them out to somebody, you're not just like, here's what I do. You're saying, go watch my story. And you're getting 2 to 3 minutes of their captivated attention to learn more about you and remember you beyond just the handshake transaction.
Very interesting. Jamie Perez, BeyondWordsProductions.com, 916-698-2931, 916-698-2931. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Also, Frank keeps reminding me that we got to let everyone know that we do have a sponsor spot available at the end of the show. If you'd like your business mentioned, at the end of every episode, the package is for an entire year. We'll work the numbers out with you to fit into your budget, but it's very, very affordable. Just get in contact with me and we'll make that happen. And apart from that, thank you so much. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.